All right, we're live right now, but we're not going to start it for another minute. We get a little trailer on the beginning here, but let me try to share screen again. Do you see that?
Nope.
No, huh? Well, what the funkin' waggle? Oh, your application window. There we go. How about now? Nope.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, you guys see that?
Yes.
But in the live broadcast, it's not there. Ah, there it is. A little bit of a delay. Got it. So we'll leave that up there while we wait for others to join.
Oh, geez. Oh, man.
All right, it's 6 o'clock on the dot. So we have Scooter James with us today.
Hi.
The second video cast of Talking Shit, but I don't. In total episodes, I think we're up around probably 10, 11, somewhere in there.
But it's the first with headphones.
But it's the first with headphones, and they make a very distinct difference. So I'll tell you. Well, we'll leave that photo up there for a minute. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my adventure today. So it was 1:09. It was 1:09 p.m. and I'm at work, and I'm in a meeting, in a Zoom meeting, and I don't know what happened first. Probably the light travels faster than sound, I guess. But like all the lights in my house became like just white bright, like boom, and then you heard this boom, and then all the power went out.
Oh no.
And I was like, what in the fuck is that? And so, I come out of my room and my son, he was all over it. But I decided to go outside. I'm going to walk up the street, see where this came from. I get outside, and Johnny's already gone. He's like, power's out, school's done. Boom, he's down the street on his skateboard. I didn't even get a chance to talk to him or see what was going on. I just looked down the street, and he's blazing trails, man. So I walk up the end of my block, and I only live maybe halfway into the block, quarter of the way into the block, and I go up around the corner. And there's a Lowe's truck right there with the top of it started to be peeled back like a sardine can,
Oh no.
And fucking power poles busted over here, busted over there, power lines hanging down everywhere. And and all the people are starting to come out of their houses and walk up the street there. And the guy that lives right there said that CenturyLink was out there yesterday, and they ran a new line across the road. Apparently, they ran it too low. And this Lowe's truck came along and grabbed that CenturyLink line, which pulled the poles down on either side of the road. Like, shit snapped, transformers blown up. The one pole, snapped at the base and then moved the pole about 20 feet from where the base was. And it was hanging from the wires. Another pole on the other side over in the little field was snapped and just like almost laying all the way down. Yeah. And so that's the CenturyLink fiber optics snapped, Excel snapped. And then the fire trucks come in, police cars, and the whole 9 yards.
Where was that at?
That was Daniels Park. So basically just off of Colfax and Sims.
We had a surge here too, right before my son was off school. Same thing. The lights flashed really bright, and then some stuff went off, some stuff didn't, and then it came back, and everything came back on, and it was fine. But he was the same way. He was done with school. He's out.
Yeah. So when I left, so that's why I'm like scattered. You know, my setup at home, I've got the 2 monitors and whatnot. It's a little bit easier to navigate everything. And you asked me to send you the link, and that took me forever because I was packing up my stuff and running around. And you know, I think I bummed my managers out at work.
Oh Jesus, man, that's crazy.
At first I texted folks at work and like cancel all the meetings. I don't have any power. And then so I went to the grocery store, got some candles and some ice and some stuff to make for dinner. I figured I'd just grill for dinner and, you know, keep everything in the cooler. And then so I got all my emergency supplies and I was like, well, I'll go down to the shop. I'm already taking Friday off, so I don't want to take a day and a half off. I'll go down to the shop and use the internet down there. So I come down to the shop and start emailing all my managers. Hey, this meeting's back on. That meeting's back on. I think I bummed them out. They probably all thought that they had the afternoon off too. But crack the whip, making everybody get back to work.
Did you see the strange ring of black smoke over a city in Mexico?
Over the city of Mexico, the Mexico City?
No, a city in Mexico.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's a big giant black burning smoke ring that just floats over the city for a while. And a bunch of people filmed it and freaked out, and they don't know what it's from.
Wow.
There's a lot of UFO activity in Mexico.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so that's a whole week.
It's aliens.
So we could go total deep dive on UFO activity in Mexico, but let's address the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
Tell us about this picture, Scooter.
Oh, geez. Yeah. We tried to start a band. I think we spent more time taking pictures and being stupid than writing music, but we played a little bit. Can't even remember. I don't even think we had a name. I think we were trying to figure out one, and then Matt and Robbie, the guy on the far right, they ended up joining another band, and they were in some weird glam rock band. I can't remember the name of them either, but it kind of fell apart after that. But yeah, it was crazy, man. I mean, I remember meeting Matt. I was skateboarding in front of my street, and I heard this racket, and I went down about 4 blocks, and I saw this little scrawny long-haired dude just had a little amp out on his porch, just cranked, just pissing the neighbors off really bad. You know? And my dogs aren't gonna shut up. Hold on. Hey. All right. But yeah, he was just sitting out on his porch, just cranked up to 11, just ripping Slayer songs and stuff.
That's awesome.
And that was the beginning. We started hanging out from there, you know. And then, yeah, that band, we used to practice in my parents' basement, making a racket. But I think we had like 4 songs down. 2 of them were Dr. No songs, Accused song, and then maybe one that we were kind of kicking around that was ours. But Matt was he was so good, man. Like even back then when we were 14, he was so fucking good. It's ridiculous.
So you said Dr. No cover and The Accused?
Oh yeah. We had a few. We were just, you know, just stuff we were into. You know, I loved The Accused back then. You know, Matt was into all that stuff too. So it was cool. You know, I tended to skate more than I played guitar, and he played guitar more than he skated, and we see how that worked out, right? I think he got the better end of the deal.
So did you see last week we had Blaine from The Accused on?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw the link. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet though, or listen to it. I mean, sorry.
You can watch, you can listen, you can do whatever you want, man.
Oh sweet. I thought you said this was the first video one.
Oh, this is the second video one.
Oh, second video one. Okay.
Yeah, but the first one with the headphones.
With headphones.
Oh, right.
And it is not the first one with barking dogs. Last episode it was my dog. He just kept yipping, and then my dog and my brother's dog, they're pals. So
my dog freaked out. He jumped up and he's like, he could tell Chip was somewhere. Yeah.
So where was that? Was that in Pleasant View? Was that Golden, or was that somewhere else?
It was Pleasant View. Yeah, it was Pleasant View. I grew up about a block east of Bell Junior High, and it was 10th and Terry. We had skate ramps, like all kinds of stuff, and he was down 10th a ways. It was probably about, God, I want to say it's 3 or 4 blocks east of that, but it was in a little duplex. I just walked by there this weekend. I was going to take a picture and send it to him just for old time sakes, but it's a little bit different than it was when we used to hang out there, but Pleasant View doesn't change much.
Where did Kip Winger live?
I have no idea. I had one of my friends, his biggest his favorite story, like his big goal in life, I guess, he went to school at which is it, Wheat Ridge over on 32nd and Kipling, or was that I think it was Wheat Ridge. He went to Wheat Ridge, and I guess he graduated a few years earlier, but he had some party, and I guess he hooked up with some girl in his bedroom, and so that he was also good. Go with this girl in Kip Winger's bedroom. It's like, wow, you need a better life goal, man. Like, but he said that even after like a couple of years after he graduated, he'd still show up at the high school to pick up girls. Like,
oh man,
he would. All right, so at least we know then that his lyrics were honest, and that she's only 17. He wasn't just making shit up.
Yeah. Oh man. Yikes. Yeah, that's Golden was a crazy place back then. I don't know.
I remember going to a party there with a bunch of like heavy metal dudes in 89, 90 somewhere. I don't even know where we were, but I remember being kind of scared because I was a little more, I was definitely more of a punk rock dude at that, looking at that time, and I was way out of my element, and we hadn't even been coming over to Denver much at that time, or we had partying in Denver and hanging out at shows in Denver, but this was with these were a different set of dudes, and we're hanging out in Golden at, maybe it was a Mines party or something. It was pretty sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going to see the Acid Pigs, man, and they had some pretty gnarly dudes that hung out with them. I remember seeing a bunch of fights and craziness going on with those dudes. We met Arnold.
Wenzel. They had a Wenzel hanging out with them too.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't the guys in the band. They were the nicest dudes ever. But these dudes that would go to their shows were just crazy, and like shit broke out all the time.
Yeah, and, I've always heard that.
My first Denver show.
Oh really?
My first Denver punk show. I saw some death metal bands, but I saw Innocent Addiction and Acid Pigs and EOS.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I was at that show actually. We met Arnold. We were skateboarding in front of our house, and Arnold rolled up in this VW bus and just handed us some flyers and just started talking to us. His girlfriend lived down the street from where I was living, and that's how I met them. And we played a few shows back in the day. I remember we played a house party on Federal, this crazy house party. It was the same night, like a block down the road, some car got shot up with a Uzi or something, some automatic.
When you say we played, who you referring to?
Oh, that was Pinhead Circus.
That was okay, cool.
Yeah, and we had the three of us. We had this. It was even worse before that, if you can believe. But we had this thing. We were doing earwax, and we played a few shows at Ground Zero or whatever. And it was the three of us, and we just ended up changing our name, and it was basically the same band, but just kind of went from there.
Earwax first.
Oh yeah. I just found some cassette, and it was terrible. It was so awful. Yeah.
Was that a drug reference, or was that an earwax reference?
No, it was. I couldn't tell you. I think it was just stupid. Hey, let's call our band Earwax. I don't
what's crazy is I never knew you were in that band, and I have some old flyers from Ground Zero with earwax on them.
Yeah.
I remember Sonny K used to send me flyers all the time, and that would be 89, 90, 91 in there before we moved to Denver. And I remember earwax on a I can't even remember the color of the flyer. It was a yellow flyer.
Yeah, we played there once. That was, I wasn't even 21. I remember Forrest's dad drove us in a Suburban to the show. Like it was like little kid days. Yeah, it was fun though. Ground Zero was a rad club. Like I remember seeing the Melvins there one time. That was pretty cool.
So I do remember, like, even when we first moved to Denver, there was still a lot of shows in Boulder versus Denver. Was it like that at that time for a while, like with Ground Zero and then later Club 156 and whatnot? But what was going on what was the difference between Boulder and Denver?
There wasn't. It's hard to really pinpoint it. I feel like the difference was we had met Sonny. For us, the difference was we were getting shows there and we weren't getting shows in Denver. But you had what was that place? There was a place by the Purina. There was like a warehouse space by Purina. I remember seeing Wrong Approach and some bands there. You had like underground places, but there was always stuff going on at like Mercury Cafe, Ozatlan, some of those other places. But at the point, we didn't know who was booking any of that, so we didn't. We spent a lot of time in Boulder, but it just the scene we kind of thrived in was a lot more centered around Denver. But at the same point, Tulagis was really going strong. Tulagis was awesome. Club 156 too. It felt like there was a point we played there every weekend for a couple of years, but it's hard to pinpoint the difference of it, and there was definitely a different vibe though between Boulder, Denver, and especially Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs seemed, at least to me, it seemed a lot different, but I loved going down to the skate park and seeing bands down there and stuff, but that seemed like even more foreign.
Like like the spring scene, pulled from some of the smaller towns around there. Like a lot of Pueblo guys would be at Colorado Springs shows, and obviously Manitou Springs just being on the other side of the road there or whatever. But I remember, Boulder. Yeah, it always felt like it distinctly had it, at least for a while, had its own scene. I remember, there were postcard punks in Boulder. Like you go to the store and buy postcards of the punk rockers from Boulder, and there was Anarchy Alley, and there was it just seemed like more of a I don't know what the right word is. It seemed like people just hung out in the open more. I remember hanging out at the park in Boulder, a bunch of punk rockers just hanging out in the park all day. I think that was either before or after Citizen Fish show in Denver. Oh, that was with Chaos UK was playing in Boulder or whatever. But yeah, there was a lot of shows that were over there and not in Denver.
Yeah, I think I wonder if that was like because Sonny K's influence, maybe. I don't know. Like it's hard to really pinpoint it now, but I think Sonny was amazing, and he was such a good dude. Like, he knew, like, he put us on shows we had no business being on just because he was a nice guy and he knew we'd like bust our ass to promote the show, But it's like hindsight, it was good, it was fun. But like Springs seemed more hardcore because I remember hearing stories like the skateboard scene in like Acacia Park, like those guys were like hard asses, like stories about them pulling a shotgun at a party and stuff, like weird, crazy stuff. And it kind of felt like, maybe it was just me, but it kind of felt like that kind of rolled over into some of the punk rock shows too. But it was definitely like a lot of cool dudes, not like knocking them, but they were just definitely a tougher breed down there, really tougher than us guys that were hanging out up at Golden. park, you know.
I wonder how much of that has to do with, you know, especially back then, Springs was much smaller, and obviously you had the Army base just south, and you had the Air Force base right there. Like, you know, how much of that came from, you know, them having to be tougher just to survive.
Yeah, might have been like lashing out between that and the focus on the family, like weird, like that whole weird presence there. I just felt like
for
it was
sure.
kids like just going against all that stuff, you know. It just seemed like they just were a little crazier, you know.
So what was going on in Golden, though? I do remember going to some shows at the Golden Bowl a long time ago.
Oh man, yeah, that was fun. That was great. Our one of our good friends, his grandpa owned it, and somehow we talked him into letting us do shows there, and it was fun. It was a good spot, but like everything, you know, there was a little crappy like weekly motel like right on the corner, and you know, every time we do shows, they'd complain. The cops would show up. We did that dance for a while before they finally shut it down, but now unfortunately it's like a Natural Grocers or some crap.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
but he had some good shows though. He had some really cool shows.
I remember. Yeah, they did shows off and on there for years. I remember we even ended up playing there one time. I think it was a show that that Anthony booked, if I remember correctly. It was after we had played a show downtown and a big fight broke out.
Yeah.
Out on the street with like the crackheads and whatnot, and we had all gotten pretty roughed up. We were out there scrapping it. I remember his head was all busted up. And then we had to like, oh shit, you know, load up and go play the show. We're all beat up and haggard. Played one show earlier, got beat up, playing another show. That was a mess.
Yeah, there was a few different people like after Jason's family. I think I can't remember exactly when they sold it, but yeah, there was a few different things going on there because I think we played there after it was out of their hands too. But yeah, it's just the neighborhood really gave it a chance, which is unfortunate because there really wasn't a lot of people that lived directly anywhere really directly near it. But
I just remember going to a few shows there that I assumed that you had put together, and I just remember getting hammered. Beers were cheap.
Oh yeah.
I remember even when I moved to Golden, we'd hang out at the bowling alley there because it was like $5 a pitcher. It might have been less if you were drinking Coors. I want to say Coors pitchers were like $3.50 or something.
Oh yeah.
And it was a buck a game to bowl, and it was a buck for your shoes. In that the lanes were all warped and the balls had chunks out of them and stuff, and it was just fun, man.
Oh yeah. We were there one night. Jason's grandpa, who owned the place, like he lost part of his arm in like some farm accident or something. So he had a stub on his left arm. And I remember this guy was drunk out of his mind, starting trouble, and this old dude grabbed him by the shirt and knocked the guy out with his stub and drug him outside and threw him out. It was nuts, man. He was a hard ass, but nice dude. He'd bowl like he had all kinds of plaques for 300 games. Man, that guy was he was nuts. He'd run the pool table, like just crazy old dude. But yeah, it was a fun place. We had a couple of our friends ended up renting out one of their storerooms and lived there for a year, which was awful. But yeah, they had like a hot plate and coffee pot, and that was about it. And just didn't last very long. But yeah, there was always weird stuff going on at mines too. I feel like when I was in high school, like every now and then they'd have bands play at parties at school of mines, and that was always a nightmare. Just I don't know, it always seemed awful. But
maybe that's why I ended up there, because I was trying to think. I can remember a few of the dudes I was with. I was with this dude Bobby Harris and Tom Gilmore, and maybe that's why we were at a mines party to see some bands or something, and it was probably us standing out at some party that some girls that Tom knew probably invited him to, and so we all tagged along, and probably wasn't a good idea. I don't remember too much other than I don't think I got beat up, but I do remember being scared.
Oh yeah. We played some party, and I don't remember what happened. Like a fight broke out, and this girl got caught in the middle of it, and apparently she was pregnant, and that just like sent these dudes ballistic. And we were just trying to get our shit out of the way and just kind of get out of there, and cops came and just started nailing everybody. One of my friends who lived there, he was super hammered. He kept trying to tell the cops that he lived there, and they pushed him out and told him to go home. And he's like, you're too drunk to tell him he lived there, too drunk to show him his ID. He just tried barging through the door, past them, and they fucking beat the living piss out of him, ended up putting him in jail. He had to get a psychic evaluation. They said he tried to grab the cop's gun and all this nutty shit. The guy ended up in a sane asylum for a couple of weeks.
Oh, damn.
It was ridiculous.
Holy shit.
He was just drunk, trying to go back to his bedroom.
Jesus.
See, you've kind of answered this already, but was there, being a headbanging, skateboarding punk rocker in Golden back in the 80s into the early 90s, was it, did you have to watch your back? Like if you're skateboarding down the street, did you have to worry about mines, dude? Yeah, okay.
Cops would fuck with you, college kids would fuck with you, all the cowboys, like they're the only other people were the other, headbanging skateboarder musician dudes around, small handful, But oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I always imagined that even though it was, closer to Denver, 12, 15 miles away or whatever, that distance was probably just enough to make it dangerous enough as being into that stuff when you're younger, similar to living in Carbondale or Glenwood, you had to be on your toes. You had to be on your game.
Well, even before that, I mean, when we were kids, like my son's 10, when I was his age, we'd be riding our bikes in the neighborhood. Like you didn't confront older kids because it didn't matter. They beat the shit out of you no matter what. They just do it for fun. And you got used to it. So you either fought if you try to get away, but if not, you had to fight. And that was just the way it was. So then, once we got older, it wasn't that big of a deal that everybody else like talked shit and wanted to fight just because, you were skateboarding or had a mohawk or whatever. Like we didn't really care, but it was always, I mean, downtown, there's always a place for people like that downtown. We always seem to find like-minded people. We used to go to, what was that club, Norman's Place out in Parker. Fuck, that was a rad venue. Like,
yeah, I'd never been to a show there. Heard about a lot of shows there.
Oh man, yeah. Dark Angel and Possessed when I was 15. That was my first concert, not with like my parents or anything. That was my first on my own. And me and actually Matt and I went to that. We went to a bunch of them down there. I remember seeing Anthrax there.
Wow.
And oh dude, Anthrax and Overkill, Megadeth. Like it was funny though, because Matt and those dudes like the long-haired headbanger dudes didn't want to go to the punk shows because they were scared of the Skins. Like they wouldn't admit it, but they didn't want to go deal with the Denver Skins, so couldn't really talk them into it. I didn't have a license, so I ended up just riding with them to a lot of more of the metal shows, but I missed a bunch of good stuff like at the Rainbow and shit like that. I never got to go there, but
that still sounds like you saw some killer shit though.
In like 93 or something, 92, I saw Agnostic Front with Obituary and Cannibal Corpse and Malevolent Creation, and it was exactly what you're talking about. It's like Denver Skins and Headbangers. There was a fight for like 3.5, 4 hours straight. It was unreal. Oh, yeah. It was so fucking violent. It was at the Gothic. Yeah.
Yep. The funny thing about Norman's Place too is there was a Gold's Gym by there. So you're in line for hours waiting to get in, and all these drunk long hairs like just talking shit to the biggest meatheads you've ever seen. Like these guys that look like Arnold Schwarzenegger would be walking by to go to the gym, and everybody just be talking shit. Like, I'm amazed nothing happened in the parking lot. At least nothing I saw. Anyways, I'm sure something could have very easily, but it was pretty funny. You know, it was pretty cool though. There was a Circle K across the street, and I remember we were over at the Circle K, and the dudes from Anthrax just came ripping up on their skateboards, and we were just losing our shit. Like,
so right there, you're answering an age-old question. Did they actually ride those skateboards or just take pictures with them? They did. All right.
They came. I didn't really see enough to know. Like, it wasn't like they were, ripping tricks or anything. But they came tearing through the parking lot and came up to the Circle K. Just started talking to kids and shit. And like, yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, it was definitely cool.
That's
but
awesome.
Who knows? That could have all been just a ploy. You never know. They might say, "Hey,
if they were on it,
if
they were on it and it was rolling, that counts."
Oh yeah, no, they definitely could ride him, man. It was cool.
All right, cool. I always wondered about that because I always look at the pictures, of all those old bands and holding up their skateboards and like those wheels are clean. There's no dirt on your wheels, man. Like you've never ridden that board.
Oh yeah, and back then there wasn't anything smooth or clean to ride, so your wheels weren't going to stay clean for long, for sure. But there was one time. Did you guys ever skate? There was a first cafeteria over off I-70 in Kipling. Like back there was like it's a Natural Grocers now. Go figure. Every fucking thing's a Natural Grocers. They took every good thing of our childhood and are decorating its corpse. But we used to skate this loading dock in the back, and we were hanging out, and we saw this across the street. It was like a Motel 6 or something, and we saw a tour bus. And we couldn't really get a good glimpse, but we saw a couple dudes with no hair, a couple dudes with long hair, and we're like, oh fuck, I wonder, is that Anthrax? Like, what the fuck's going on? And we're like kind of peeping it, and all of a sudden this dude comes walking over, this long haired dude comes over, and he's like, yeah, hey, what's up, man? How's the music scene around here? What's going on? We just started shooting the shit with him, and he's like, yeah, last time our band was here, we got in this big fight with the Denver Skins, and we're like, they're kind of at that point we were like, yeah, they're kind of still around, but we don't really see him much. He's like, oh, cool. Well, we're playing up in Boulder. I'll get you guys on the guest list. It was Reed Mullen, dude.
Oh, no way.
It was Corrosion of Conformity and Angelic Rage at the Glenn Miller Ballroom. And it was like,
no shit.
Dude, it was so rad. But yeah, he just came over shooting the shit. He's like, yeah, last time we were here, we got in this big fight with Denver Skins. And I was like, oh, man. This was kind of towards the end when you didn't see him around as much anymore,
Yeah.
Now, like late 90s, early, yeah, it was probably late 90s, but it was funny.
That whole area, that whole area right there that you mentioned where that Natural Grocers is, I-70 in Kipling, Recycle Records used to be over there.
Oh yeah.
And what's that? The U.S. motel or whatever? It's still there. That big hotel that's right there. Like when we'd come to Denver for shows, we'd stay there. And so we had some crazy parties at that hotel. And I remember we came down to see The Exploited, but it was canceled. So we just got super wasted. I remember partying on the roof of that hotel. We figured out how to get up on the roof, and we were up there just fucking raging all night at the US motel, which I'm pretty sure that place now is mostly like for whipping up meth and
I'm sure.
taking prostitutes to it. It seemed. I mean, even back.
They raise bed bugs there.
Even back. Yeah. I mean, back then we stayed there because it was cheap, and it was a place that would rent one room to 6 punk rock and metal dudes. Like they knew we were just gonna rage in there,
Yeah.
And the first cafeteria over there. I remember. We came down for some show, and I remember it was this dude, Kane Cookland. We're in there, and it was like, his first cafeteria. It was before they really went downhill, and before they closed, their food was complete shit. I can't imagine that was real good anyway, but I remember we'd go in there, and we'd gorge ourselves, because, we didn't have much money, and it had, I think it was probably my idea, this whole, let's eat like a snake. If you just eat a ton, you won't have to eat again for a couple of days. And we'd go in there, and I remember Kane literally you get all the you can eat roast beef and cake, and remember him pushing it down. He couldn't swallow anymore. It was all back, like, trying to push it down as it's trying to come back out. He's like, oh yeah, we just gorge ourselves, and then drink a couple cases of Meisterbrow or whatever, and it was fucking party time.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, you posted a picture today of the Arapahoe warehouse, or was that today or?
Yeah, that was today.
God, that place, man, I miss that place. That place was awesome. I guess they bulldozed it a while back, apparently.
Yeah, I think that the picture at that time it was called the Arapahoe warehouse, and because Monkey Mania, wasn't it Monkey Mania at one time too? But Monkey Mania had been other places. I never understood how you could name the place after some place that was that before, but like whatever, I didn't name it.
Yeah, I
always just called it.
The Monkey Mania was 3 different spots.
Yeah, was that was the last one, wasn't it? Or it was the last iteration of that warehouse, anyways. I don't know. But
and they're doing like SWAT training in it for a while after shows.
Dude, I remember one night their Sonic Youth played, and they played at the Bluebird or something, and then they went over that to Monkey Mania and played like another set at Monkey Mania. Yeah, it was fucking nuts. It was cool. Yeah, they when I first went there, it was when the Christie Front Drive guys had it, and they were a little. I liked those guys a lot. They were a little more uptight about it. It was definitely a different vibe. And then I can't remember who. Or one of our Brian Circle used to do Black Plastic Records. He moved in there after they moved out. It was kind of a weird transition where some of them moved out and different people moved in. But after some of my friends moved back in there, they kind of tried to keep the same vibe going. They always had really cool Halloween parties, so they kept that going. And then I'm not sure.
I saw Angel Hair on Halloween there one time.
Yep.
That probably
was killer.
That had to be like 96, 97, maybe somewhere in there, 95. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember one of the best shows I think I saw there was VSS, man. Sonny and
maybe that was the show. That was
it. Actually, it was VSS. Was it VSS? Because was that the show right before they left for Europe? They did like a tune-up.
If it wasn't Halloween, then
that might have been Halloween. That might have been it.
I remember. If it wasn't Halloween, I was dressed like a fool. I dressed like a fool a lot anyway, but I was extra fool that night.
Yeah, that show was fantastic, man. Those guys were incredible.
Yeah, that was because I had seen Angel Hair a couple times. It was VSS. You're right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was
talking about. So, yeah, there were a lot of killer spots back in the day. And there's some killer spots now, but what are your thoughts on old Denver versus new Denver? You had your let's call it 90 to 2010, and then 2010 forward.
Oh man, I'm probably gonna sound like a fucking asshole, but I mean it was definitely better before 2010. It's, and it could be me, it could have just been like, I was fully immersed in it and engaged, and not just in my band, but doing other things, like engaged in the scene. And definitely after 2010, I was too old and too overworked to put 100% into anything. So, that could be why I liked it better. I don't know if it was necessarily quality better, but I definitely, it changed to more, new Denver. I felt like there wasn't a lot of the same camaraderie. And I think, like I said, that could be me just not being immersed enough and finding, the bands to play with and bands to tour with, and it's just, when you're working 40 plus hours a week, it's hard to get out and go, but back in the day, like we had our house in Pleasant View, and Trevor was doing sound at the Raven, however many, it seemed like it was every night of night of the week at that point. But, you know, anytime bands needed a place to stay, you know, they'd come back, stay. Bands were, you know, corresponding with us and getting a hold of us to book shows, and we were putting on shows, booking shows. You know, it just seemed like it was a lot more fun, and it seemed better. But it's probably because I put more into it. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe there might be a spot for that if you put that kind of effort and immerse into the new Denver, maybe. But I don't think so.
I don't know. I see both sides, I guess. I think you're absolutely right that, you know, the one thing we have to take into consideration is our age, and we're not immersed in the scene like we used to be. It used to be what you ate, you breathed it, you drank it, you slept in it. Is what you did every day. And to your point, you know, older and have kids, and you know, you're just not immersed is the best word, I think.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do think that one of the differences was there weren't as many places to play. So there were more people at the shows. If there was a show, it was probably the only show that night, or maybe the only show for the next couple of weeks. And so you had a lot bigger crowds. You had a lot more diverse crowds, to where now, you know, back then there was only a few places that would let, you know, aggressive music be had. You know, there was 15th Street Tavern, Lion's Lair, the Raven was open and closed, and then a couple of warehouse spaces where now, you know, you go down South Broadway, there's several bars on any Friday or Saturday night, except now with COVID, obviously, that could have heavy music, aggressive music playing. And then Lion's Lair is still there, and you got this bar over there. You know, there's, you know, Friday or Saturday night before the COVID hit, there could be 5, 6 or more shows going on in one night. Yeah. So to that, I think you do lose that camaraderie. Oh, and I remember back then we used to work it out. Like if there was a show that, back then we'd think, you know, if there was a show that we thought would compete, you'd get together and figure out, can we combine these two shows? And now you try to do that. They're like, fuck you, I'm doing my show anyway. Like, well, we could have one big show and pack it, or we could have 3 small shows and wonder why there aren't as many people here.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because it's like, I mean, they're definitely, like, I get the idea of it. You know, they want to do something like Austin or LA, but there's not enough people. There definitely wasn't enough of a crowd, enough of a scene to have that much stuff going on at one point. But you're 100% right. I mean, there's great places to play. I mean, Goose Town was always, it's been fun to play recently. You know, Three Kings was always a good time. High Dive, you know, but yeah, there's so much stuff going on, especially on Broadway. Half the time we'd play a show on Broadway and spend most of the night running around to the other places trying to catch or play, and then trying to go catch other stuff going on. It was just like completely distracting. You know, it's like, whereas it used to be you'd set up the show, you'd have a night and everybody get crazy and have a good time. Nobody's running around like it's Warped Tour. You got to check out, I got to see this band at 10, this band at 10:15, you know, and a million texts and calls. Oh, what time do you guys go on? It's like, fuck you, just come to the show. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I saw the other day you were selling some Pinhead Circus shirts. What do you got going on there?
Oh, I was getting emails and stuff from kids in Japan and stuff that were interested, and we played a show not that long ago, and proves that, like, you know, we're still just as big of idiots as we ever were. You know, I know we didn't sell all the shirts we had. You know, we still have a box of shirts somewhere, but of course, Trevor thinks I had them. I thought Jordan had them. Jordan thought Trevor had them, and nobody's got them. So I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I thought it was cool that, you know, these you know, people were still interested. So I did the dumb thing and spent money I didn't have to print new shirts and, you know, try and get them out. But it's been been interesting. It's been cool. You know, it's good. I don't know. I still feel weird. It's like putting all that effort into something that, you know, everybody, the one thing everybody's like, oh, are you guys going to do a reunion? It's like, no, not a chance. Like, you know, sorry, it just shirts. You want a shirt? Cool. You know, but
if you want to bring some of those shirts by here, definitely take some of them. So no reunion. What about represses? We get asked a lot about Pinhead Circus records.
yes.
And honestly, in the 6 years that we've been open, I think we've had like 2 used copies of any Pinhead Circus stuff come through.
Yeah, no,
So,
we're gonna. I'm currently in the process of trying to round up the publishing on everything because it's just gone by the wayside. BYO is just, I'm still not really sure what happened. I mean, I think they just dove into their little festival thing full time, but they're not doing anything anymore. And
I was going to ask you BYO and what was it like getting onto that label and what happened with that?
Dude, it was incredible. Those guys were amazing, man. We would go to LA and it was always like we'd play with Youth Brigade or like they'd hook us up with some great show. I mean, I remember we were at one time, Mark Stern, we were at his house hanging out, and that night we were playing, it was us, Brand New Unit, 7 Seconds, Cause for Alarm, and Youth Brigade, I think. And we were hanging out and Sean's like, oh yeah, the 7 Second guys are gonna come by. They had a fucking pool party with 7 Seconds. Like
that's awesome.
Craziest thing ever. We're just sitting there like, oh, what the fuck? We're just some dumb kids from Golden, and it was insane. And it was pretty cool because recently I ended up playing at Summit with Kevin Seconds, and we were reminiscing about that pool party. It was pretty surreal, but yeah, they you know, they did a lot. We busted our ass and toured a lot and tried to keep things going, but you know, eventually it was just, they kind of, I think once they got more, now hindsight, I can see like the punk rock bowling thing kind of took up more and more of their time, and I think that's just kind of the way it went. But you know, it was insane. Like we never had any, and never thought that we'd ever, you know, be on their label. We'd go out and record in LA. We had so many. It was awesome, you know. It was just, we were just dumbfounded by the whole thing because we were just still dumbass drunk kids, and you know, took it seriously enough, but you know, it was still just, it was a ride. You know, it wasn't ever like we were fans more than like musicians. You know, if we played some show, like it didn't go to our head like, yeah, we're cool, we're playing the show at Youth Brigade and 7 Seconds. It was just like, holy fuck, we're playing with 7 Seconds. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You know, and I'm sure we fucking probably pissed everybody off just being fucking nerds, you know. But, you know, but then at this point, I just saw Jeff Ott just posted a picture of a 15 show. It was a Take Action tour in Miami from like '99, and like mentioned that, you know, it was us and Falling Sickness and them, and it just fucking gave me the goosebumps still. You know, it's like, oh, man, it's awesome. You know? Like almost forgot that we even played that show, you know. But it was like, that was a dream. You know, we're sitting there backstage talking to Jeff Ott. That was like huge for us, you know. That was like when Aaron Comet Bus was here doing that movie. Did you see that it was a documentary on the Bay Area. It was funny.
Oh wait, was it the Lookout, not Lookout, the Gilman movie, the Gilman movie?
It was.
Oh,
it was just
that's
awesome
right.
to see those dudes, you know.
The viewing that I saw, he wasn't at that one, but yeah, he spoke either before or after one of the viewings, right?
Yeah, the one he spoke at the one, and I asked him a question, but I had to start it with apologizing for spending most of my career as a musician trying to rip off Crimpshrine. So,
dude, I thought that movie was great, man, and you know, Green Day gets a lot of shit or whatever, but wasn't I can't remember Green Day guy's name now. What's his name?
Billy
Joe Armstrong. Yeah, it wasn't he like the executive producer, like the guy that ponied up all the money to have it made? Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Here, talk shit about me. Here's a bunch of money. Put it together.
Yeah, like that was really awesome that he did that, and and obviously a lot of the movie had to do with Green Day, but Green Day was the biggest band that came out of that scene.
Oh, yeah.
I worship Neurosis. I didn't realize how. I guess it makes sense. I mean, look what they became. But in that movie, everybody had on Neurosis shirts. Like Green Day dudes wearing Neurosis. It was like Green Day, and then Neurosis was like right there. Yeah. It was awesome to see how much. I didn't live in the Bay Area. I didn't know that Neurosis had that much respect in that scene.
Yeah, it definitely crossed over for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they were. That was one of the things when Matt he got in some trouble. We stole a bunch of Dramamine and ate a bunch of Dramamine and tripped, and his mom came home and busted him, and he ended up she shipped him off to his dad's in California to go to military school, and that's where he hooked up with the Asbestos Death guys. And the first time, I think I was still a senior in high school, and I went out to meet them, and that was the first time I went to Gilman and all that, just hanging out with those guys. And but yeah, he used to send me care packages with like videotapes. It was like I wish I could find this. I'm still like desperately like just scouring my parents' house to try and find this. It was a live Neurosis and Asbestos Death from Gilman Street. And it was such, and I'm thinking now like somebody might have snagged it over the years, but like it was killer. But he used to send me pictures, send me records, and that was I first heard of the Melvins. He used to tell me these stories about this crazy dude with this giant afro, and he'd be headbanging playing guitar, and he could stand straight up and touch the stage with this giant hair. And he was talking about Buzz and the Melvins. Yeah. It was cool, and he definitely got me into a lot of cool stuff. But did you guys ever play like Gilman or any of those?
Dude, I was just gonna, that was rolling off the tip of my tongue. I was gonna ask you the same thing. No, we never played Gilman. The only time I'd ever been to Gilman, my brother and I, we actually flew out to see the Filth reunion shows.
Oh, cool.
We saw the night they played at Gilman, and then the next night at the Hazmat Warehouse. So they did 4 shows, and we caught 2 of them. But that was the only time I'd ever been to Gilman.
That's awesome. Yeah, the first time I went, we saw Corrupted Peasant Farmers. I can't remember who else, but I remember it was cool because after that, I remember seeing Corrupted Peasant Farmers played at Mercury Cafe. That was cool. Well, I was asking because there was a place in Richmond, California called Burnt Ramen. And it was like, did you guys ever play there?
I went to a show there, but I never got to play there. But I went to a show there, and it was fucking crazy.
It was so funny because it was like we would play Gilman, and then we'd play a show at Burnt Ramen, and it was so they couldn't be more opposite. It was like for all the rules and all the prissy thing that Gilman Street was, Burnt Ramen was just like fucking nothing.
Well, what was the dude's name that ran that place? And then he had his band and booked a couple shows for his band here in Denver at the Blastomat.
I can't remember, but he worked at Alternative Tentacles too.
Yeah, super nice guy,
I
man.
Can't remember it, but yeah, he was pretty awesome.
I think he was obviously quite a bit older than us, but I think he got married and moved off to a farm or something.
Yeah, that's
I used to keep in touch with that dude, and I forgot all about it until you just mentioned it. Damn.
Yeah, the first time it was so crazy because we were still like, we at Gilman, everything was just so, whatever, and we just. It just seemed weird, we weren't used to it. We were trying to be respectful of the rules and stuff, but they were just so fucking adamant about everything. But then the next night, I remember we loaded our gear in, and Trevor asked the dude, he's like, "Hey, can I smoke in here?" And he just looked at him, he's like, "Man, you can shoot up in here if you want." Like, dude, we're just like, whoa. Like, it was such a weird switch going from Gilman the night before to that place, but Gilman was fun. The last time we played there rubbed me wrong, like really bad. We had some band issues, And we were calling them. We were always really diligent, especially even back then, not having cell phones. It was hard to be diligent, but we would call the promoters and be like, hey, you know, we're having band issues. We're trying to get it squared away. We're going to be there. We're going to be there. And we ended up showing up like half an hour, an hour late of load-in, but not anywhere even near doors. And they weren't gonna let us play. They had to have a meeting to decide if they were gonna let us play. And it was us, and we were on tour with Anti-Flag, and they wanted us to use Anti-Flag's gear and cut their set short or in half to give us time to do things. We're like, fuck that. Like, why would we?
That doesn't make any sense.
We ended up just saying, fuck it, let them, you know, they're the fucking headliners, you know, nobody wants to deal with our shit. Like, we're not going to cut their set short. But it was just lame because, you know, we weren't late. Technically, yeah, I guess we were. But I mean, who the fuck does that? It's like loading. Like, it didn't matter. We were playing first. Like, you know, like
load-ins at 5, doors are at 8:30. You're like,
yeah, exactly. It was so lame. But we played a few times before there. And it was fun, you know. But it just seemed like it was way too much of a headache, and I can't imagine the shit they had to go through to run that place. If that's the bureaucracy they had to go through to decide whether or not, you know, some opener was going to get to play. It's like, how the hell did you stay open for that long? Like, you know, I don't know. More power to them, I guess.
That's where I get it, you know, but sometimes somebody has to be in charge.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's all vote. Like, fuck, someone just call it. Like, you know, like, make the decision on the fly. All right, we're
no, that's not you in charge, but there just has to be able to cut through bullshit.
Yeah, for sure.
Show a public venue, the band that tailoring is called Anti-Flag. Like, does it really matter if somebody was an hour late to fucking load in and didn't get proper sound check? Get the fuck out. That's insane.
Yeah. And that was the thing with us being the first band. Like, we weren't holding up sound check. We weren't doing shit. Like, you know, and we were quick about getting our stuff in and out. Like, it wouldn't have been an issue at all. But they're like, and we reminded them that we'd been calling them like 3 times that day, giving them updates, like letting them know that we were running late, we were working on our van, you know, we're going to do our best to make it. And, you know, it wasn't like we just flaked on them, you know, I don't know, whatever.
All right, we got just a couple minutes left here. We'll go around the room. We'll start with you, Scooter. What's on your turntable? What have you been listening to this week?
Oh man, this week, Lightning Bolt. I've been listening to some Lightning Bolt.
I don't know Lightning Bolt. What's Lightning Bolt?
Oh, they're just obnoxious 2-piece like noise band from. I think the record was on Thrill Jockey. They've played here a few times. I remember seeing them at the Gothic, I think. But they were 2-piece, and it was. I can't remember if he played bass or guitar, but it was a drummer and a guitar and vocals, and they'd set up in the middle of the floor. Like, the first time I saw them it was at the Gothic, and they set up about 3 feet in front of the stage, like on the floor, and just, it was pretty nuts. Some of it's, you know, it's chaotic, but it's fun. I don't know. That and the Mets, like the Mets are one of my favorite bands. They're from Canada.
I don't know the Mets either. Okay.
Oh man, check them out. They're pretty cool. They're a little. They remind me of something Sonny K might have been in. You know,
right. Yeah,
like that kind of style, like quirky guitar stuff, but it kind of has like almost like a Bleach Nirvana vibe to some of the guitar tones too. So it's pretty interesting.
That's cool. Justin, what's been floating your boat, buddy?
Well, one thing I wanted to say is we're almost out of time, but I was hoping to bring up a question. Josh, you've been showing the bands, a couple bands that Scooter's been in across the bottom of the screen, but one I was going to ask you, we had at the same time a mutual band member with Dan Gilbert.
Oh, yeah, I was going to bring that up too.
Prayer. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Maybe we'll have to say that for the next interview, but I just, that band, because I always thought that was kind of a cool departure from some of your just like straight punk.
Well, if we go over the hour, it's not like going to cut out. That's just lightning bolt. It's not a lightning bolt your ass out of your seat. It's just respecting you guys' time. You probably have other shit you want to do.
I'm good.
And
Dan.
Yeah, so
such a character, man. He's a good dude. Like that band was fun just because it was 6 people that all had the same fucked up sense of humor, and just like it was, fun situation to be in, even though it was a pain in the ass. Anytime we had a show, trying to get 6 people on board for anything.
Yeah. What did the 6th guy do? Was there a keyboard player or something?
No, there was. So Mikey Herrera, he played banjo, harmonica, and mandolin.
Okay.
Eric played acoustic guitar and accordion. Andy played acoustic guitar and sang. I played electric guitar and sang sometimes. And then we had a bass player and then Dan. So it was kind of people switching off kind of switching off instruments here and there, but
gotcha.
There was a whole lot of noise for sure. But yeah, Dan, I remember being on tour, Dan bringing his stash of Four Loko, like that he had.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was the pre, like before they took the caffeine out of it. He had a little stash. And he brought like a 6-pack on tour, and it was just that was fun.
That's right. I remember he was way into the Four Loko, and I do remember touring with him. Like, dude had the stinkiest fucking shoes.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? In that band, he wasn't the stinkiest of people anyway. I mean, Mikey wouldn't take his boots off for days at a time, and wore the same pants for a month. So it kind of evened out, I guess. Dan slid through the cracks because Mikey was way worse.
I think I remember buying like shoe powder or something for Dan to put, and I put it in his shoes for him. Like, fuck that, dude. Like, either that or you got to buy new shoes.
Oh, man.
Stinking up the van. What have you been listening to, Justin?
Okay. So between 2 records, I've been jamming the Concrete Socks Heresy split on Mosh. It's like Mosh number 2 or 3 on Earache Records. And then that She Passed Away, that band from Turkey. It's like dark wave stuff.
Yeah, it's real Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, cool.
The record, I can't even tell you the name of it. It's like Belarati Gecko or something weird, but it's addictive as can be. It's kind of dancey, it's kind of sad and happy at the same time. It's good shit.
Yeah, I've been listening to them a little bit this last week, but I've been listening to that band Actors. I want to say they're from Portland or Seattle, and they're kind of a death rock with a little, but they've got a little more like kind of 80s pop to them, kind of.
Yeah.
So they're pretty cool. Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. I've probably listened to it 20 times this week because I just read Halford's book, and I'm super stoked on Halford and super stoked on listening to Judas Priest and trying to understand all the gay sex innuendos. So for instance, the song Jawbreaker, I did not realize that is about like sucking a dick that's so big that your jaw breaks.
Well, hindsight, really?
While at the same time, he said it's also about some Rambo-like dude who's the jawbreaker, but it's also your jaw breaking as you try to swallow the load.
Sometimes.
They saw Priest so many times at McNichols, man. Oh, Jesus. It might have been before you guys were down here. There used to be it was called the Ticket Bus, and it was down on 16th Street Mall. And I think I was still in junior high at that time. Or no, I was in high school. But, me and my neighbor, we'd go down there. He was a little bit older than me, but whenever like Maiden or Priest would come to town, we'd go like camp out on 16th Street Mall and at this Ticket Bus.
I remember the Ticket Bus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was fun.
I mean, Judas Priest has always been one of my all-time favorite bands, and reading that book, I've always had a ton of admiration for Rob Halford. I always thought he seemed like a really down to earth, sincere, genuine, caring dude. And reading that book, I walk away with that feeling, 1,000 times more. Like, he's just such a good person, and he had some things that struggles in his life, and that plagued him, and then he came to terms and came out to the world, and just the weight that lifted off his shoulders, and I just ton of admiration for the dude carrying that around. And at the times, I mean, you read the book, you really feel bad for him, but that ultimately it kind of has its happy ending or whatever. But ton of respect for that dude. And
my question for you guys, though, here's the big question: was it Priest or Maiden? Which one do you guys like?
I was gonna ask that one too. Judas fucking Priest all day, every day.
I could never pick one. Yeah.
Judas Priest.
Yeah, Priest was definitely definitely got into Priest before Maiden, but God, they were both fucking great bands, though.
Well, there was definitely a time, in the 80s, probably where you could ask me, and I could have gone either way, depending on what day it was or what album I was listening to. But it was really over the years where it just like really solidified my opinion of Judas Priest over Maiden. Really solidified, and you get into that that argument from time to time, and I was like, Iron Maiden's a fucking prog rock band. Judas Priest are defenders of the metal faith, man.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, for sure. Like, my Maiden records are a lot more dusty than my Priest records, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't even really think about it until we just talking now. It's like, yeah, totally right.
And I think part of it too, for the appeal to me, is that I've always really admired Rob Halford. Like I said, I always thought he seemed like a really nice guy, and Bruce Dickinson to me always seemed like a dick. And like, I'm gonna go listen to
kind of a fucking nerd. Like, I always thought he was just like some Dungeons and Dragons nerd.
Yeah. I'm gonna go listen to your dickhead singing band, or you're fucking screaming for fucking vengeance, man.
True.
And you get me riled up now. Like, you go see him, and Bruce Dickinson's like always lecturing the crowd.
That is definitely true. And
Rob Halford's just like, thank you for coming tonight. It's great to see 10,000 metal maniacs again tonight.
But I gotta tell this really quick, because anytime Iron Maiden comes up, I remember seeing Iron Maiden at Fiddler's Green, and they have the curfew at 10 o'clock. At Fiddler's Green, all music has to be done by 10. And so they were doing 2 minutes to midnight. And he's like, "What time is it, Denver?" And he puts the mic down, and there's like all these free tickets that were given away. So there's all these people who weren't like Iron Maiden fans at the show. They just like got a free ticket. I'm going to Iron Maiden, bring my girlfriend. And literally hand the mic down to this guy, and he looks at his watch and goes, 9:45. And Bruce Dickinson pulled the mic real quick and handed it to somebody else, and they're all 2 minutes to midnight. The dude just had no idea why he was asking him what time it was. He's like, "What? It's 9:45, bud."
Oh man, that's amazing.
Judas Priest. Yeah, read that book, and
for sure.
Don't bother reading KK Downing's book unless you want to read 300 pages of KK Downing complaining, or you can read Rob Halford's 400 pages of him occasionally mentioning KK's complaining. But
yeah, I think I'll take Rob's book.
All right, one more for the crowd here. I'm going to make an assumption that everybody listens to Van Halen. What's your favorite Van Halen album?
I've been trying to tag that down this week, like after hearing the news about Eddie, and I mean, it's hard. It changes, God, I want to say Women and Children first, but Van Halen won, so freaking amazing. I'll go with Women and Children first.
Women and Children first, Justin.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Really?
There's some good stuff on that one.
So going into the Eddie Van Halen just died. I'm gonna get out all my Van Halen records. Going into that, I thought and you guys are gonna say something. Everybody's gonna.
I know you're gonna say 1984.
Somebody's gonna say something. I was torn between Women and Children First and 1984, and now coming out the other side of it, like a full week of listening to Van Halen, it's fucking Fair Warning all day. That's like their heaviest album.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Not a bad song on the album. If you want to argue, are they hard rock, or how influential were they on metal? Like Fair Warning that's a heavy metal record, pretty damn close to.
Yeah.
I'll have to revisit the catalog a little bit, like Diver Down, all that shit. I haven't jammed in a long time.
Don't bother to listen to Diver Down. He did. So I was reading about, like, my buddy Bob and I were always talking about that. We're both like, oh man, there's like 7 covers on that album. That album blows. And so the story behind Fair Warning was they wanted to cover a song because they wanted to take a year off, but wanted to release a single so people wouldn't forget about them. And they said, well, let's just do this cover song. And then the label said, well, we want you to do Dancing in the Streets. And they're like, well, no, we just want to do Pretty Woman. And then they said, well, why don't you do a whole album? And they're like, well, we don't have time. They didn't have any songs. So they just ended up doing all these covers. And one of the original songs on the album, there's only 2 or 3 originals on it, is Where Have All the Good Times Gone? And that was a shot at the record label saying, you're taking our good times away from us and making us release all these fucking cover songs. Where have all the good? This isn't fun anymore. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But I'm gonna 1984. So I had listened to Van Halen. My friend Brandon, I think, was the one that introduced me to Van Halen. But the first one that I got, the first one that I was able to buy as a new release, and this is back Columbia House, was 1984. Came in the mail. So that was the one that got it as a new release. It's hot right now. The video's on, and I even like Jump. I think it's a fun song. When that song comes on, I turn it up. Like, hey, it's a real uplifting, positive song. But yeah, I mean, come on, man. But like, I'll Wait, Panama, Hot for Teacher, like. I'll Wait is another kind of keyboard-driven song on the album, but it's kind of
from the steam coming off. What's that part? What's he say?
Yeah,
see the steam coming off the road.
Yeah. Reach down between my legs, ease the seat back.
Stop.
Oh man.
But yeah.
Okay.
It's a good record, but I mean, I still love like Atomic Punk and Mean Streets and songs like that. Like, I mean, they had some heavy stuff, man. But for a commercial popular record, it's not bad for sure. I mean, Panama is killer. Hot for Teacher's killer.
Yeah.
But, I definitely would be lying if I said I haven't listened to it a million fucking times in my life. But yeah. It just where I'm at right now, I'm not. I'm going back and listening to the older stuff.
When they played the US Festival and they played Heavy Metal Day at the US Festival, that was the most any band at that time, the most any band had ever been paid for a single performance.
I believe it.
I guess like David Bowie played one of the days, and they were saying that he was getting paid the most out of anybody on the US Festival. And Van Halen was like, well, how much is he getting? They're like 1.3. And they're like, well, we want 1.5. Okay, here you go.
Dude, I love that. Out of all those days, though, seriously, like the one thing that still sticks in my head about that, like one of my favorite moments of that whole deal was In Excess, Don't Change. That song, like, I still love that song. I don't listen to In Excess that much, but that fucking song was rad. And it was so weird because, I mean, I'm in there ready for like the metal day, it's like, I want to hear Priest. And that was a great live performance by Priest too, for sure. I mean, but that's something about that song. And it was just, I don't know. It was weird for me because it was definitely not in my wheelhouse, not something that I was really open-minded to. But love that song. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, the US Festival, I remember when it happened. I mean, I didn't go, but I remember, I think it was Showtime aired it or something.
I saw it on cable too. Yeah, that was before my time, but I did go to Monsters of Rock
Did you?
at the stadium. I was sicker than a dog, though. I had the flu or something and trying to drink in the sun, just being a knucklehead, and it was miserable. All I remember is being really annoyed at Michael Anthony's bass solo. Like for some reason, it just pissed me off so bad. He seems like a nice enough guy, but god damn, dude, you're in a band with Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think most bass solos kind of piss me off. Like I play bass in a band. Like I love the bass guitar. There's bass players I really admire, but I don't want to hear a fucking bass solo. I really don't. Yeah, who needs that? You go see Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx has got to play a fucking bass solo. At least when Gene Simmons plays his bass solo, he's gonna fly and spit blood. They're like,
he just plays like, he's just
like, that's cool.
Something will catch on fire. I remember I saw him with Anthrax at McNichols, and it was that Crazy Nights tour, and oh man, me and my friend, we were tripping, and like every word out of his mouth is, crazy, it's crazy night, and fucking drove me insane. But the same thing, like Gene Simmons does this like one note bass solo and shoots fire up into the rafters and blows up this speaker above our heads in the rafters, and I about lost my freaking sanity.
Yeah, that's fucking.
I was hiding
cool.
under my chair for like 2 songs after that, just like.
Yeah, that's cool. You go see Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx is like working out his fucking anger issues with his dad and his bass solo or something. Like, dude, go back to therapy. Like, all right, we'll wrap it up here. Anybody got any last minute confessions?
I've been jamming Van Halen 2 a lot, to be honest, at work, because I got downloaded on my iPod, so it plays a lot. It's good.
Yeah, Van
nice.
Halen 2 is good.
It's not my favorite, but it's a good one.
My other big spin of the week has been Paradise Lost, Obsidian. Amazing album. Fucking love Paradise Lost.
I've been mostly just listening to that Don't Sleep, and you turned me on to that Don't Sleep, and it's freaking incredible. But I do have a confession. I have to admit, I accidentally listened to Touche Amore the other day, and I did not like it. The guitars were interesting, but not like that band one bit.
I think, there's the big buzz about them a few years ago. I checked them out, and I don't think I made it through a full song. I was like, check them out, moving on.
I was on a YouTube rabbit hole listening to acoustic versions of D4 songs and some autoplay. Somehow they came up in an autoplay situation where I didn't have time to skip it, so I listened to it for a minute. I was like, the guitars sound cool. And then the guy, I was just like, no. I don't know.
Give him the
gong. All right, dudes. Thanks for your time, Scooter. It's been fun, man. That hour flew by.
Thank you guys. This was awesome.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, good to see you, John.
Stash is looking sweet, brah. Yeah.
Down to the chin.
Yeah.
Cool, man. See you at the record store.
All right. See you guys.
Have a good one.
Take care.